I am Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School. I hope that you're doing well today. I hope that your life is treating you well. I am hanging out today, Christmas Eve. I'm not really working. People think that this is working. That if I'm doing stuff like this, that it means I'm working. And the truth is that I don't really have a job. I don't really work. When you don't work, it's easy to look like you're working all the time. When you love what you do, you don't really have a job. I don't know exactly. I mean, I guess it is kind of a job, but it's not a job in the traditional sense. Those horrible things that you have to go to every day in order to just pay enough bills to keep from being homeless. Or to be just over broke, as they call it. I don't believe in that. I believe that there is a better life for you if you have the desire to go aim for it. If you have the courage to go out and try to get it, then it's going to work. If you don't, if you do what grandma told you, and grandma told you to be scared and to just go get a job working for the white man, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to pretty much get whatever expectations you set for yourself, whatever standards you have for yourself, and I think that becomes the dilemma for so many of our people is that we sort of get in these weird little ruts where we end up with this life that we never even planned on having, but it was kind of inherited to us by somebody who didn't have much vision. There are a lot of people, unfortunately, who are raised with a lack of vision. I see Oshara says, "Thank you for doing what you do." Well, thank you for being here. As I was explaining, I was talking to my son today. My son, in case y'all don't know, I have one biological child, but I have a son that's my unofficial son, but he's my son's son. And we were talking about listening and advice. And one of the things I told him is that there's a whole lot of people who I give advice to, or who I'm willing to give advice to, or where I might have a solution to a problem they have. And some people just don't listen. Some people don't want to listen. And I told him, I said, look, I'm not in it in terms of trying to have stock in somebody else's life. I don't enjoy telling anybody what to do. I don't enjoy being up anybody's butt about how they're living their life and the choices they make. I mean, that's really on you at the end of the day. Um, but what happens is, unfortunately, is that when you don't get advice, when you don't seek advice, when you make decisions, then you make really stupid decisions. You make very bad decisions. There are some people, and this happens a lot with young people, because young people are kind of in a rebellion. They're always sort of fighting for their freedom, fighting for their right to be expressive in their own way. So what can happen sometimes is, in this whole quest to achieve this freedom, this independence, that you end up going through life not taking advice. And as a result, you end up doing some really stupid shit. Okay, I'm not gonna cuss. I'm trying not to cuss. I kind of eked out the word shit because I told myself I'm not really gonna cuss. But it's funny. I'm being real when I cuss. I'm being fake when I don't. And so it's hard for me to commit to being fake. But sometimes I get people that are offended by curse words. So I try my best to be, balanced with it. But anyway, so here's the thing. So we were just talking about, just life, and we talk about life a lot. And he listens and he thanks me for the advice and stuff like that, which I think is cool. So I'm like, oh well, he likes it. This is helping him. So I'll give him more advice. But at the end of the day, I've never felt compelled to push anybody to listen to what I say. Because again, I think one good way to be stressed out is when you get overly invested in somebody else's dumb decisions. I mean, you have people that won't listen, won't take advice from nobody. They're stubborn as hell, stuck on some old Negro logic that don't make no damn sense. And you try to tell them a better way, and they fight you the whole time, tooth and nail, whatever. And people like that, I don't really fight them. I'm like, okay, well, go ahead and run into the burning house. Good luck to you. I hope it works out for you. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be over here living my life. You go live yours. And I guess that was just on my mind because I just thought about times where, where somebody would be really appreciative that because I gave them advice, and I'd be like, well, actually, I've offered this same information to a lot of people. It's just only a few people listen. I know that it works because I did it and it worked really, really well. But if somebody shows me that they're just determined not to listen to anybody, then I'm like, okay, well, good luck to you. So it's funny. Devin says 95% of the black community. I don't know if I'd say 95%, but I will say that we unfortunately have, people that will believe things based on faith. They will just know things based on how they feel, but they won't know those things based on facts, right? They won't. I'm actually gonna. You know what? It's driving me crazy. It looks like my phone screen is a little bit blurry. Give me 1 second. Y'all gonna look like it looks like I'm smothering y'all for a minute. Hold on. Okay, give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. If you were on the African History Network, okay, that's better. I can see y'all so much better now. Because before, or maybe y'all can see me better. I don't know if y'all can see me better, but I can see y'all better. Because at first I looked so blurry. I was like, oh my God, why am I so blurry? So anyway, so here's, so Devin says, okay, 85%. Yeah. So, what I will say is that, a lot of times we will have situations where you'll see someone that, really believes something based on faith, but it won't be based on logic, based on actual evidence, based on actual facts, based on actual data. Now, here's the thing. People who are so-called scientists, who get data, who get facts, who have education in a certain area, they don't know everything either. They don't. Sometimes we are too educated. Sometimes our education leads us to think that we that we are somehow superior to those who don't have the same education. I think that's wrong too. I think that if you're truly educated, the first thing you learn as an educated person is how little you actually know. You learn, more importantly, you should learn the art of critical thinking, the art of asking questions. You want your brain to stay woke, so to speak. You don't let your brain just sort of run on autopilot, because when you run on autopilot, what you do is you end up repeating the same mistakes and ending up in the same oppression as the people in the previous generation who passed down that bad advice. And so somebody says, let me see, Wisdom says there's nothing worse than an educated fool. That's absolutely true. I know a whole lot of dumb people with a whole lot of education, and it drives me crazy. But I know a lot of uneducated people who are very, very smart, very, very sharp, very, very thoughtful, have figured a lot of things out. So what I would just generally say is, when it comes to really thinking about solving problems in the Black community, which is where we're all concerned, because that's where we are. That's what we're here to talk about. I would beg to say to you that we need to have new solutions to these problems. And also, I dare to say to you that we need to challenge some of the people that I call the Negro naysayers, who want to find a problem for every solution. I mean, it drives me crazy. Their brain will do mental acrobats to find every single way to block every possible solution that you come up with. I mean, I'm like, are you a fucking white supremacist? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, are you really that deeply committed to white supremacy that every time I tell you that there's a way out of our situation, you go out of your way to explain to me why it won't work, why we shouldn't even try? You abort the ideas before they're even born, before they even have a chance to breathe? Are you kidding me? I mean, is that really your idea of Black progress? Seriously. What is wrong with you, man? Don't you understand that see, it's funny. It's on one hand, see, I've described faith and hope as things that can be dangerous, that can get us into problematic situations. When you have faith without facts, you need to be real careful with that. But then at the same time, there's a flip on that, where faith and hope actually become your best assets. Faith and hope are what lead you to try even when everybody tells you something's impossible. That's when the scientists become the dumb ones. Because you have a lot of experts, for example, who would have told you that you would never have a man with Black skin in the White House. Now, the first Black president, right? So Obama was the first Black president. He was biracial. He's from Africa. He's not a descendant of slaves. So we haven't had a descendant of slave African American president. We need to make sure that's clear. But at the same time, a lot of experts would have told you that wasn't possible. A lot of experts told you that Donald Trump would never get elected. And that's another thing, right? So experts don't know everything. So when it comes to something that you want, sometimes faith is what sort of creates the glue between that which is possible and that which is impossible. That which is reality and that which appears to be a fantasy, right? So faith can be everything, just like they say the bumblebee. The bumblebee isn't technically, based on its size, its weight and all that, it's not supposed to be able to fly. But it doesn't. Nobody told the bumblebee that it shouldn't be able to fly, so the bumblebee knows how to fly, right? So in that regard, faith can go a long way. But so what I'll say is that it is insane to me how many Black folks we got who are determined to feel sorry for themselves. And you got to understand there's a thin line between accepting, acknowledging, and fighting the oppression that we've experienced for 400 years. Accurately discussing it, making sure it's well accounted for, making sure that reparations, reconciliation, reciprocity are in full effect. There's a thin line between doing that versus using that as your perpetual crutch for ever doing anything in the future. I mean, we must understand that link between the past and the future is part of it is pragmatic and real, but part of it is also psychological, right? There are real systematic and structural variables and factors that affect us today and will affect us in the future because they came from the past. That's very, very real. But there's also psychology, a mindset, a self-pity mindset that we also carry forward, which basically says that even when somebody offers you solutions, even when somebody offers you opportunities, you turn them down because you are determined to be a victim. You are determined to be a loser. You're determined to believe that it is your destiny to always play for the losing team. And that is something I vehemently reject. I reject that with every fiber in my body. We are not the losing team. We are not supposed to always be the victim. We're not supposed to always be behind. And even if you are behind, you ain't supposed to just sort of get comfortable being behind. So anyway, if you're on Facebook, please do me a real quick favor and share this with your friends. Please hit the share button real quick if you don't mind. I would really appreciate that. Also, if you haven't got a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, please go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. You can get a free e-copy of the book. Just sign up there. And also, of course, you guys know about our investing class. You can find out about that at blackmoney102.com. That's blackmoney102.com. That's our class on how to invest in the stock market and all that stuff. So I want to make sure you guys know about the stuff we're doing in the Black Business School, because that's helping to fund all of our activism. That's what why it exists. All right. So here I want to kind of look at a couple of examples of what I've just been talking about, so that you guys don't think I'm just talking out of the side of my neck. Because I was thinking about that this morning, because I woke up super early. It's Christmas Eve. Had to talk with my son, and I was just getting up early. I got up probably 6 a.m. and actually 5:30. I jump out of bed every morning because I'm so excited about all the possibilities that exist if we work hard, if we're committed. Every day, last night I went to bed at 1, woke up at 4:30 a.m. I was rested. I hopped up. I got to work. Doesn't mean I'm gonna stay up all day though. I'm a big napper, so don't worry about the fact that I just told you that I had 3.5 to 4 hours of sleep. I don't live off of that. I take naps all the time. Naps are great. Naps are amazing. If your life ain't right, take naps. Naps will make it all better. And so what I want to do is give some tangible examples of what I'm talking about in terms of the Negro naysayers and how this kind of operates. Okay. So one of the things I mentioned, I mentioned this on social media, and it was one of those remarks that received either a lot of praise or a lot of criticism. And what I basically said is this. I said, isn't it interesting that people will tell you that they can't raise $1,000 to start a small business, but they will borrow $100,000 for a college degree that won't even get them a job? Let me say that again. It's interesting to me that there are people who will borrow interesting to me that there are people who will swear up and down that they can't ever possibly raise $1,000 to start a business, but they will go borrow $100,000 to get a degree from a white university that won't even get them the job that they want, won't even get them a decent job. Now, what's interesting is that, so first, when I put the post up, I like to watch the dynamics. I'm real fascinated with Negro behavior and black people behavior. Black people and Negroes ain't the same thing. And then, of course, you got the other category, but I'm not going to say it. We try to keep the conversation positive. I'll let y'all fill in the blanks. And so I'm fascinated, by this. And so a lot of people were applauding, a lot of people shared. And then I said, okay, where are the Negro naysayers at? I need to hear what they say, because I want to hear their excuses for why this doesn't make sense. So first criticism that came up was, why are you bashing education? Why are you, you have a doctorate. Why would you tell people not to get educated? And I was like, well, I never told anybody not to get educated. I never said education is not important. I never said that going to college was a bad thing. I just said that it's equally important to raise money to start a business. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy that is just glaringly apparent from the fact that when it comes to raising money to start a business, you can't do that. You ain't got time. You ain't got the resources, whatever. But when it comes to borrowing $100,000 to go to that white man's university, you're all on board. Why is that? It doesn't mean that it's a character flaw. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you've been brainwashed. It takes a special kind of brainwashing for you to think that even makes sense. Because I'm going to tell you like this. If I had a child that's getting ready to go to college, I would send them to college. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that. But before my child goes off to college, I make sure my child knows how to start a business in case the white man keeps on not hiring black people. In case the 400-year trend of white people not giving black people jobs continues. In case his black ass goes and applies for that position and they somehow decide he's overqualified, underqualified, not a right fit, whatever it is. You have to have a plan. You have to understand what it's going to take to build a nation. You can't build a nation. You can't build the black community with all of us thinking that we're going to go work for white people. White people ain't got enough jobs to hire all of y'all. They don't. They don't. Monica Mehta wrote a great book about the psychology of an entrepreneur, the psychology of millionaires. And one of the things she called me about this, and I love Monica. She's not black, but she's my sister. I love her to death. And she's very, very smart, and she's very, very kind, and she's very, very careful. So she said, look, I can't ask this question in public, but I'm just curious. She said, why is it in the data that black people are so unwilling to start their own businesses? She said, I just don't get it. She said, when I looked at all the data across the board for all the different ethnic groups, everybody kind of had their own set of entrepreneurs. But when we got to African Americans, almost nobody was an entrepreneur. I mean, the rates were incredibly, incredibly low. And I thought about that. I said, my God, we are addicted to the white man's titty. We are addicted to working for white people. We really, truly think that they are our parents, that they're really going to take care of us. And that is such a sick Stockholm syndrome when you really think that the people who've hated you the most are the ones who are going to feed your kids. If I hate you and you're relying on me to feed your kids, then I'm going to feed your children poison. Why would you allow somebody who doesn't like you to feed your kids every day? Now, I'm not saying that every white person wakes up with a vendetta hating black people. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they are deeply committed to a system that has proven itself beyond any doubt to be incredibly biased and incredibly racist and incredibly harmful to black people. Your children are being destroyed by this system. In Missouri, they're about to pass a law. Dr. Roosevelt Mitchell III, an education expert, mentioned this in his newscast. They're about to pass a law where they say if your child gets in a fight, they're going to send them straight to jail for up to 4 years, even if the child is in kindergarten. If your child gets in a fight, even as little as kindergarten, they might go to jail for 4 years or juvenile detention. Either way, they're going to be exposed to criminals, incarcerated, be given additional mental illness from incarceration, possibly get raped, and go through all of this over a school fight. And when I saw that, I got mortified because I thought about how many fights I've been in school. And when I was in school, there was one boy that made me mad. It was a white boy that he had been messing with me and bullying me. And one day, you come in one day and you just so mad about the bullying that you like, I'm not taking it no more. I don't care if I get beat up today. Something about to go down. We gonna fight this out. And I went up to that dude and I came at him. I blindsided him and I bust him upside his head, and I stayed on him. And they, by the time he figured out what was going on, they were pulling me off of him. And I know for a fact that if the rules that exist in schools today were still have been in existence back then, I probably would have been derailed from my whole entire life. I probably would have been sent to juvenile detention because they didn't know that this boy had been bullying me. They just knew that they thought I'd started the fight. They thought I was trying to mess with him. So long story short, my point in all that is to say that it's extraordinary how much faith we have in white folks' desire to take care of us. It's extraordinary. And so, anyway, let me look at some more of what the Negro naysayers say. Now there were a lot of people who did agree. So I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the people who, unfortunately, have been blocked from progress. And because they've been so Samboized when it comes to believing in the possibilities of black people, they become obstacles to progress. They become inadvertent barriers to anything that we're trying to do as a people. So even when I'm out here trying to say, like, look, we can do this. Let's do this. Like, okay, I was struggling. When I was 28, I was homeless. I had nowhere to live. I was broke as hell. I had no money in my bank account, but now I'm doing okay. Let me tell you, here's how I was able to figure some of this out. Let me teach you. Now, if a Negro naysayer is standing there, they're like, well, it ain't possible because, I mean, when you figured out how to start a business, it was easier for black people and you had legs, and most black people back in 2004 didn't have no legs. And they, and we were also, they said that they had a law back then that if you start a business, they were going to kill you. You will hear black people come up with the craziest things. I literally heard somebody say, when I was talking about the fact that anybody who invested $1,000 in 1930 would have $2.5 to $3.5 million today. I literally saw some black people who said that, did you know that black people were not allowed to invest in stocks in 1930? And I said, that's so fascinating that somebody really believes that we were not allowed to invest in 1930. And that's an insult to our ancestors because a lot of them did invest. I know an older man, not 80-something years old, who just died and left a ton of money to his family because he'd been investing his whole entire life since the 1930s, 1940s. And so I said, maybe that means I reached out to my production coordinator for Boyce Watkins Films, and I said, we need to make a film on the history of black investors. Let's make a movie about black people who have built wealth all throughout history so that we will stop thinking that it was somehow illegal for black people to do basic things like invest in the stock market. There is not a law saying black people can't invest in the stock market. It's absolutely insane to think that that's the case. Now, what's true, however, is that black people have gone through a lot of stuff. Black people have been robbed consistently. White folks as a collective, unfortunately, I mean, if you're white and you watch it, I'm not mad at you, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Y'all terrorized our people for a long time and took our stuff. That's why black people don't have anything. It's because, anything relative to whites, it's because we built wealth and you took it, you stole it, and you refused to give it back. That's why we're mad. So if you want to know why we're mad, it ain't mad. We're not mad because of nothing. We're mad because you refuse to negotiate with us in good faith. You refuse to reconcile with us in good faith. Reconciliation in good faith means acknowledging what was stolen and giving at least some of that back. Now, the good thing about black folks is that, lucky for y'all, black people ain't got high self-esteem. Black people don't need much to make it right? You give black people literally 1/10 of what we're owed. Most black people would be like, oh, I'm Lordy be, thank you, Jesus. I'm so happy. So the fact is that on one hand, the repayment isn't what it should be. But on the other hand, the repayment is still going to be high because you built several $1 trillion in wealth on the backs of black people. So anyway, moving on, long story short, let me look at some of the other comments. Somebody else said, let me see. Let me find, hold on. Okay, somebody said, all young people should not be discouraged from going to school. I am one of those who borrowed and I am doing well. And what's so funny is I never said that in fact, I'm going to type this in. Let me make sure I can educate this poor sister. People should not go to school. Now, here's the thing about going to school and being educated. First of all, there's a difference between going to school and being educated. A lot of us go to school. A lot of people go to school and are never educated for anything. That's the first thing. Second thing is that, there are a lot of ways to get an education. Some ways are just more expensive than others. So you could, let's say, for example, I want to learn how to program a computer, right? Well, I could go to down the street to the University of Chicago or University of Illinois Chicago or DePaul University in my city and pay, $30,000, $40,000 a year to learn how to program. Or I could go online and they've got computer programming courses and programs that teach you better than what you learn on a campus, where I could pay $100 a month, $200 a month, something like that, and not go into debt, pay with the money right out of my pocket. So you got to understand there's a difference between the expensive education and the least expensive education. Now, if you decide you want the expensive stuff, I'm not knocking it. Okay, cool. But understand what you're getting. Understand what you're getting. Are you necessarily getting higher quality information? I don't know. I know a lot of professors who have PhDs just like me who teach on the internet. I taught for 23 years. I taught at University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University, University of Rochester, the Shanghai University of Finance and Economics in China, and the Center for European Economic Research. So I've taught in a lot of places, but Now I teach online. I know a lot of people who teach online. You have more information on your cell phone than that has ever been housed in any university in the history of the world. A person at Harvard University in 1985 did not have more access to information than a person who owns a cell phone in the year 2016. That is a fact. So I need you to understand what that means. So what are you getting when you go spend extra money getting an education in one of these expensive schools? You're getting a piece of paper that certifies you to enter into an economic system and have a certain degree of credibility that increases your likelihood of getting a decent job. Cool. Okay, fine. The problem is that a lot of y'all aren't getting the job. A lot of y'all are rejected before you apply for the job. A lot of y'all are in fields you spend $100,000 getting a degree in a field where you can't get a job. I know I run a business. I ain't hiring no philosophy majors unless you learn how to program a computer or run a business in your spare time. So, long story short, so Michelle says Harvard comes with resources. Don't discount that. Absolutely not. Amazing resources. My goddaughter went to Columbia. I turned down Columbia for my PhD. And I have to mention stuff like this because I have black people who think that because I'm black that somehow my credentials must not be as good, or I must not be as good as the white folks down the street. But I actually turned down Columbia University for my doctorate. I can prove that. They accepted me in 1998. I chose to go to a different school. So, but that's beside the point. It's not me bragging. It's just me telling you the truth. So I know what these elite universities can offer. I know what they can do. But the question becomes, what's the most efficient way for you to achieve your goal? If your goal is like a lot of black college students, your goal is simply to make a living and to not stress yourself out in the process. I mean, at least that's a pretty reasonable objective. And so when I talk to young people, I say, okay, let's understand that there are many, many ways to skin the cat that don't have to fit into the college box. I love the fact that people are pushing to bring trades back into schools. If someone learns a good trade, plumbing, carpentry, whatever, and they learn entrepreneurship so they can run a good business with that trade, that person will usually become wealthy faster than a college graduate. The people who tend to have wealth in America tend to be people who not the ones who went and become doctors and lawyers. They tend to be people who become entrepreneurs because good entrepreneurs are able to make a lot of money really fast if they do it right. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. But my argument is that it's probably, I don't know, I can say it's easier to learn how to be an entrepreneur than it is to learn how to do the electric slide. I never learned the electric slide, but I know how to start a business. Electric slide ain't never gonna pay my bills, but having a business helps me pay my bills, and I pay bills for 20 other people. It's easier to learn how to start a business than it is to learn how to become a professional football player. I was a decent athlete, but I don't think I could have made it to the NFL because they only have about maybe 100 jobs a year that they offer. Whereas if you are an entrepreneur, there are tens of thousands of opportunities out there. So, my point in all this is to say that you got to think about what your education's for. When you go in and you pay for it, know what you're getting and make sure it's what you expect. Because what's happening with a lot of young people while they're mad is that college is not giving them what they thought it was going to be. They're getting the debt. The debt is certain. The debt is absolutely going to happen for most people. What's not certain is what happens after you finish. Now, somebody says, you went to college, didn't you? Yes, I went to college and I taught at the university level for a long time. I taught my first college class when I was 22. I did not at that time realize how unique it was to be a young black man at age 22 teaching college students. I just thought I was just doing what I was supposed to do. So that's the important. I think that says something to the importance of setting the standards high for your kids. If you set the bar high for your kids, they'll be high achievers and won't even realize they're high achievers. But if you set the bar low, like Chris Rock was joking, how if you say stuff like, well, at least he ain't in jail, then that pretty much excuses any mediocrity that he embraces in his life. Because every time somebody challenges him to do better, he's going to say, well, at least I ain't in jail. Or at least I take care of my kids. I mean, don't nobody, I know a lot of people who don't take care of their kids. Well, I'm like, Chris, fool, you're supposed to take care of your damn kids. You want a cookie, a trophy? No, you made the kids. You're supposed to take care of them. Like, stop acting like you are somehow Father of the Year because you buy your children Christmas gifts and take them to school. That does not make you father of the year. That does not make you mother of the year. That makes you a damn normal human being. So, really, I think setting the standard high is really important for our people. And I'll tell you what, the Negro naysayers were on the attack as well when it came to let me see. When it came to another status I threw up there, I threw something else up about I was breaking down something I had read in Market Watch. I was doing research for my students for our stock market course, which you can check out. And you can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com to see our programs, blackfinancialliteracy.com. And one of the things I shared was something that I found about how much wealth a person would have if they were to have invested. I lost my people on Facebook. Shoot. How much wealth a person would have if my phone's literally overheating, these damn Samsung phones. What the hell, man? Okay, well, I'm going to just sit my phone over here. I'll talk to you guys. So, if a person had invested $1,000 in 1930, so let me hop in here. I'm going to see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find this post. And what I did was I gave the data because I wanted people to, have some hope to kind of see what happens in 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years if you plan for your children, you plan for your grandchildren. So here's what I wrote. Here's the math. A $1,000 investment in 1930, equivalent to $14,000 in today's dollars, grew to 2.4 million at 9.7%, or to 13.6 million at 12%. And so what I then said is that this means that any black family that could save and pull together $1,000 in 1930 would have millions in family wealth today. They didn't do it because whites didn't teach black people about the stock market, but this cannot be your excuse anymore. Now, one of the things that happened is really interesting. First, a lot of people I think agreed and understood what I was saying. But then again, the Negro naysayers always come in. And what I want to do is I want to really address, and I'm not trying to make fun of the people that don't get it, the people that have lack of hope. I really want to help them. But if you don't want to be helped, then that means at some point I might have to we're just going to have to fight it out, because I'm not going to let your hopelessness kill off the possibilities of our people. I can't in good conscience do that. So here's what, let me see here. So somebody says, for first one person, a lady named Jean says, I'm sure we were barred from doing such transactions in 1930. That's not true. That's not true. There were black people who were allowed to invest in the stock market in 1930. There were black people who were literally extremely wealthy from the stock market, going back as far as Reconstruction. In fact, black people invested on a regular basis. Simmons College of Kentucky, where we're actually holding the All-Black National Convention this year, September 29th. I hope you'll come out. Simmons College of Kentucky was built by former slaves who didn't have much money, but they said if we might not have a lot individually, but if we pull ourselves together and pull together our wealth, then we can actually build something that we can use to educate our children. So they did that, and as a result, they educated thousands of black people. Now imagine if they had just had hopelessness. Imagine if they used excuses, and they, some liberal, some, well-intended white liberal came along and said, no, you just got out of slavery. Y'all can't do nothing for yourselves because y'all just ain't got no money and no education, and y'all done been through a lot. Don't try to do nothing. Just sit there and feel sorry for yourself for a while, and maybe we'll come by and help you a little bit and throw you a few crumbs. I mean, if they had taken that sort of advice and just sat there and did nothing, then thousands of people never would have gotten educated. You would have thousands of people that never would have gotten an opportunity because they simply missed the chance to take what they've got and build with what they've got. And that's what I'm saying to black people now that are listening, is that we got something to work with. We don't have everything we deserve. We don't have everything that we want. Sometimes we may not have everything we need, and you got to improvise. But the same way your mama could improvise and find a way to cook dinner every night, even though she's bringing in $10 a day, you can find a way to build an empire with just a little money in your pocket, or the corporate jobs that we have. There's a whole lot of black folks got corporate jobs, everything, still deep in debt, not saving a penny, not investing anything, not growing any wealth. And I just really think that you are never better off. And I know you're never better off when you think negatively. You're never better off when you don't believe in yourself. You're never better off when you when you're as quick to talk about why something's not possible than you are to talk about what's possible. Because here's what you're doing when you focus on the impossibilities, when you focus on the barriers as opposed to the opportunities. What you're effectively doing is you're giving yourself an excuse to be lazy. You're giving yourself an excuse to do nothing because it's too much, it's too hard. So why try? Right? There's a whole theory in management about motivation. One of the things they say about motivation is that people are not motivated to try if they don't believe something's possible or if they don't believe the rewards are big enough, right? So ultimately, even though you know the rewards are big, you don't believe the probability of success is very high. So you say, well, why should I go out here and work hard every day to build something that's not possible? Why don't I just sit back, throw away my money and smoke a blunt? That's kind of what is effectively happening. So let me keep going. Let me keep reading here. Okay, so let's see here. So now I ran into my good friend Yvette Carnell, who really doesn't agree with me. And one thing David Van Valen, a very smart guy, said, and the thing is I have to respectfully disagree with David, though. His area is science. His area is not finance. But David says $1,000 in 1930 is the same as $13,000 in 2016, thanks to inflation, which is more than the net worth of most black households. So actually, Yvette says that the middle-class black family is worth only $17 today, and that's just not true. Let me see here. What I'm going to do is the net worth of a black family. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the net worth of an African-American family. Let me see here. Okay, so it's not very high. It's only $4,900. But here's the thing. My point to Yvette, and I'm literally copying and pasting as I say this because I literally want to respond to this because I want everybody to kind of, I want us to have this conversation out loud in public. I want us to really just kind of, really talk this out because we tend to just sort of miss the boat in terms of what our opportunities are. So basically the true facts, which are actually not that, what's the word? Not all that inspiring, is that in 2010, the median wealth or net worth for black families was $4,900 compared to white families of $97,000. So whites do have a lot more net worth, no question about it. Blacks are nearly twice as likely as whites to have zero or negative net worth. 33.9% to 18.6%. So that's absolutely fundamentally true. Now, what I want you to do too at the same time is I want you to ask yourself, when you take a number like 13,000, since that's the number David threw out there, I want to talk about that. Ask yourself, how much money do you think that we spend when we go buy a car? Most people, I know a lot of black people who got cars that are worth more than $13,000. And they could have easily got a $10,000 car, $8,000 car, $14,000 car, but they got the $25,000 car because they want to drive the new Toyota to work, or they want to drive the pretty SUV. They want to be slick. They run those ads on stations like BET because they know that you will wear your wealth before you actually build your wealth. You want to look fly. You want to be cool. Black people want to be stylish. And I'm not saying you can't be stylish. Y'all see me make my little flimsy efforts to be stylish as well. But you shouldn't go broke being stylish, right? So when you talk about that 13,000, let's just put it into context. Most of your friends, especially if your friends over the age of say 32, probably make at least $30,000 a year. If you go deeper than that, I know people that have spent thousands of dollars on sneakers. I know people that will go to the club and will drop, $100 in a night, maybe $200 in a night. That adds up to thousands of dollars over time. I know families where if $13,000 was a lot of money, they could pool their wealth together over, say, a 3-year period, put themselves on a family payment plan, take $13,000 divided by, say a number like 5. Let's say it gets to $2,500 and spread it out over 2 years. That's about $100 a month. So a family of 5 could save that money in 2 years, but everybody put in $100 a month. And I'm really making that very basic, very bare bones, so that I can deal with the naysayers who tend to sort of look at black people as the worst common denominator. They see us as people who are so pathetic that when it comes to doing something healthy, whether it's economically, politically, or otherwise, that we literally can't even do very basic things to improve our condition, that we are so undisciplined, that we are so sloppy, that we are so ignorant, that we can't even do the very basic things. Why in the fuck is it that when I talk about what we can do with our wealth, you always point out the black person who can't afford a $25 book? Why don't we point to the black people who can afford a $250 pair of shoes? Why don't we point to the black person who goes to the movies every time a good movie comes out, and we'll go buy the $25 popcorn, or with the popcorn and the drink, you add it together, it comes up like $20. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the concession stands. Why don't we talk about the black person that they're selling the $200 leather jackets to on the internet and on TV because they know that you want to be stylish? Why don't we talk to black people who will go and spend crazy amounts of money going to the comedy club or going on vacation or whatever? Why don't we talk to the black people who will go broke buying the nicest car, the nicest clothes, and the nicest house because they went to Howard University and got a law degree and are making $100,000 a year? Why don't we talk about them? Right? So maybe you have those black people who are just so destitute that they can't even afford an extra penny for anything. I know that people out there like that. I'm not making fun of those people by any stretch of the imagination. But stop talking about that group as if they represent all of the black community, because most of y'all who are in here right now have the money to afford the things that you want. Christmas pops up, Christmas comes, y'all want to just make it rain on everybody. Y'all, with Christmas time, you make it rain on the universe, because you will spend $1,000 on Christmas gifts you can't afford, and then somebody said this today, I thought it was great. Spend $1,000 on Christmas gifts you can't afford, and then start the new year swearing that you're gonna get out of debt. When you just now put yourself into debt, you're doing what companies do. Companies like a Kroger, I thought it was hilarious. On one side of the store, I saw a display where they were selling donuts and fattening stuff that's going to make you fat. And then on the other side, they had diabetes consultation. So after you done ate up all the donuts and created the problem, they'll help you fix the problem. That's how they make money from you. They'll create a health issue, and then they'll charge you money for the cure. Right? It keeps them in business. It keeps their economy circulating, just like the prison industrial complex. You create more criminals, and then you make money incarcerating the criminals. That's how an economy kind of works, unfortunately. It's very, very sick, but that's kind of what happens in the world, and that's what you do to yourself. Now, let me take a little break. Do this real quick. Again, if you haven't shared it, please share. Also, you can go to my website, it's drboycewatkins.net. You can get a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. Y'all got to forgive me my voice. I got to work on my voice. And so I'm gonna let the water kind of settle in while this happens. Plus, I'm gonna invite some people in from Periscope. And then the last thing is that if you're interested in any of our financial programs, you can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's where you can sign up for our course on how to invest in the stock market. It starts January 2nd. The kickoff is January 2nd, but we're already doing stuff now. And by the time you're done, you'll know everything you need to know. Let me see here. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. All right. Okay, so moving on. So let me keep going, because since we're talking about the Negro naysayers and all that good stuff, I'm actually going to find more comments in terms of things people were saying about like why black people can't invest. Now, if you just tuned in, one of the things that I'm addressing is what I call Negro naysayers, are people who make excuses, people who are so committed to undermining the black opportunity for greatness that they go out of their way to block any solution that anybody proposes. Again, and I think the fundamental reason is that it's easy to believe the narrative that you're in your condition because of what somebody else did. It's very easy to believe that you're having problems because of issues that are simply unsolvable, things that you can't really fix no matter how hard you try. It's very easy to believe that you're always supposed to be the victim. In fact, that gives you a license to be lazy, because if you don't believe that you can solve a problem yourself, then you're going to probably not try to solve the problem. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to, okay, everybody on Periscope, I want to make sure you guys can see me. Give me 1 second here. All right, so let me know if you can see me on Periscope. What's going on, everybody? Okay, so I see, okay, JoJo's asking about interest rates. I don't want to talk about interest rates right now. We're talking about black people and our craziness. We'll talk about interest rates later. All right, okay, so you guys can see me. I had to wipe off my phone because it was a little blurry. All right, so the comment was basically that I put on my page, and I put it up so people can kind of know this. That this is according to MarketWatch.com, a website by CBS. They said a $1,000 investment in 1930 grew to $2.4 million at 9.7%, or 13.6 million at 12%. So what that means is that based on how you invested, if you put $1,000 into the market in the year 1930, you were going to have between $2.5 and $13 million in wealth in your family. And so basically what I was explaining to people is that at that time, black people were blocked from investing. Black people we weren't blocked, we were blocked from knowledge. A lot of white folks wouldn't let us come to their schools to learn these things. But now there is no block. We have the same information available to us. We can do whatever we want. And so the Negro naysayers marched in, and they basically sort of were saying things like, well, black people, our net worth the median family net worth is really low, so black people can't afford it because $1,000 in 1930 is equivalent to $13,000 today, so black people couldn't do it. And I just find that to be incredibly ridiculous and insulting. And so debilitating. I think this idea that somehow we can't scrap together $13,000 for our future, for the future of our children, is sick. You will hear people who will say that, no, there's no way we can get 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 to build a better life for our children. But yet I will go and I will sign a promissory note to pay a university $100,000 for an education that won't even get me a job. And so anyway, I was just looking at this. And so, one guy, kind of said, well, black folks, this is more than the net worth of most black households. So what I would say is that when you're looking at black people where they just don't have the money, the fact is that most of us have some money somewhere. Most of us have some money that we spend on some level. Most of y'all, especially during the holidays, are going to spend money on something that you do not need. You're going to go to dinner that you didn't have to go to. You're going to go buy some toys that you didn't have to buy. You're going to go buy some outfits that you don't really need. You're going to go on a vacation that you didn't have to go on. You're going to go to a movie that you didn't have to see. You're going to go to a club when you could have stayed home. There are going to be a lot of things that all of us do where some of those things could have been scaled back so that we can invest. See, what I find, here's what is really true. Here's what's true. This really kind of explains it all in a nutshell. A lot of us are trained to pay for what we want and to beg for what we need. We pay for what we want. We pay for the things we desire. But when it comes to the things that are healthy, that we need, that we don't necessarily, that don't bring instant pleasure, we find an excuse, right? It's just like a man. Like I explain to my daughter when we talk about how to interpret whether a guy likes you. And I say, look, if a guy keeps making excuses as to why he can't see you, chances are he really don't want to see you. Because when a guy really wants to see you, he will solve every problem he has to solve to make sure that he gets a chance to see you. But a guy who doesn't really want to see you, he'll be like, yeah, I would have come to see you, but I overslept by 10 minutes, so that caused me to run late. So I was just frantic, so I couldn't come out there. Or, there was a traffic jam, and I mean, being in all that traffic, that stresses me out. So I really don't want to come out today because of the traffic, right? Anybody who doesn't want to do something will allow any little thing to stop them from doing it. Like ask somebody who loves Beyonce about a Beyonce concert. Oh, they will take off work. They will go borrow money. They will go get a new outfit, come hell or high water. They will go research the internet to find out where the tickets are at. They will go borrow in order to get the best seats. They will do whatever is necessary. They will clear their calendar. They will do whatever they got to do. They will find a babysitter. They will do whatever they got to do to get to that Beyonce concert because they love Beyonce that much. But then ask that same person to come to I don't know, a political rally or an investment club meeting or a PTA meeting for their kids. Well, I would have gone, but I couldn't get no babysitter. Or no, they charging $5. That's too much. I mean, people broke out here. I mean, you can't be charging people money to come to your investment club meetings. I mean, some people can't afford $5, Dr. Boyce. I mean, you got to really think about that. And but yet that same person just dropped 150 to go see Beyonce, and took off work and did all kinds of acrobatics to make it happen. So same thing might be true with men. You look at men, and this is true. I'm gonna call some dudes out right now. I'm gonna call some niggas out right now, because this is some old nigga shit. Excuse my French. You have a dude that will spend all kinds of money chasing down new vaginas. So we'll meet a hot new girl. We'll spend his last. We'll go broke. Dressing to the nines, taking her out, whining and dining her, spending money to making it rain on her, and then that same Negro will not be willing to pay $100 a month, $200 a month in child support. He won't pay nothing for his own damn kids, but he will spend every penny chasing that new woman. And the fact is that what's really happening there is you're dealing with a little boy, not a real man. You're dealing with a little boy because the little boy in him is leading him to spend his resources and his energy chasing his desires instead of using that same energy to fulfill his obligations. Why? Well, because in life, it's not as much fun to do what you're supposed to do as it is to do what you want to do, right? And so at the end of the day, if we really think about the psychology, like what would lead a guy who says, I can't afford my $250 a month in child support to go drop $1,000 to impress some pretty girl with a big booty? What would lead him to do that? Well, it's because of the human mind. It's driven by his habits. It's driven by his subconscious. It's driven by how he was raised, how he was trained. Was he raised and trained to be a man of discipline, or was he raised and trained to be a man who seeks instant gratification, who engages in what psychologists call pleasure-seeking activity? That's all it is. And that determines, in a nutshell, which people get ahead and which people fail. Which communities prosper, which communities suffer. Which groups gain all the power and all the wealth, and which groups just sit there in dire poverty and despair and victimization. That's what makes a difference. In fact, the lady who wrote the book, The Hymn of the Tiger Mom, wrote another book about which cultures tend to excel, which groups of people tend to really do well around the world. And again, it was a little scientific. She had references. It wasn't perfectly scientific, but it made sense when you say it, when she broke it down. One of the things that she said that makes a community stand out, makes an ethnic group succeed educationally, economically, etc., is the ability, what's the word? The ability to have self-discipline or delayed gratification. I'm trying to look for the right words that she used, but basically the ability to impulse control. That's what she said it was. Impulse control. Impulse control. What does that mean? That means that when you have situations where you want to do something, maybe you're passionate, or you're feeling passionate and you want to have sex with the person, and you know that having sex with the person means that you're going to have 20 years of terror dealing with a horrible co-parent who ain't paying child support. Do you have the discipline to say, no, I got to think about my future? No, put on that condom because I don't want to deal with all the craziness that's going to happen in my life once this happens. Or are you a person who focuses so much on the moment that you say, oh yeah, absolutely, take off the condom because it feels better. Next thing you know, you're dealing with a whole host of problems for the next 20 years that you maybe wouldn't have had if you had really been pushing for impulse control. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm really not making fun of nobody. Remember, I had a daughter when I was 18, so I understand this, okay? So I'm not making fun of anybody, but it's the honest to God truth. Or impulse control. Let's think about it deeper. When it comes time for you, when you're 18, and it's time for you to decide, do I want to go and get an education or learn a skill, or do I want to go party and run the streets and smoke weed with my boys and kick it and hang out with my friends and get into bullshit? Well, impulse control comes into play. A person with no impulse control runs over and they just do what feels good. They engage in instant gratification. A person who thinks like an investor, who has a long-term vision, who's playing chess, not checkers, is the person who says, yeah, this is what I want to do, but this is what I need to do. I could throw away my time by messing around doing nonsense, or I could invest my time into building a better future for myself. I'm going to spend a few years living like nobody else will, so I can spend the rest of my life living like nobody else can. And so when you talk about, people and our mindsets and where we are, we can't as a community talk about any of this without taking a second and saying, have we really as a people collectively embraced the idea of impulse control and disciplined responsible decision making in the way we live our lives? Or do we allow our persistent victimization or our persistent self-perception as perpetual victims to cause us to sort of believe that it's okay for us to engage in undisciplined, irresponsible, self-destructive behavior? Like, do I keep eating Big Mama's fried chicken, knowing that everybody in my family got diabetes? Knowing that so-and-so cousin so-and-so just had a stroke and Uncle Ray is 480 pounds. I mean, do I do that? And do I just sort of, is my excuse like, well, you only live once, YOLO? Like what is it that has to go through my mind for me to kind of stop for a second and say, yeah, maybe this isn't going to be good for me? At what point do I realize everything goes full circle, that my outcomes in life are not some sort of product of external intervention or divine intervention or just random probability, but maybe my outcomes are a direct product of my decision making? Right? Like, have you ever known people, like, I'm going to stop for a minute. I got to take some water. Give me a second. Have you ever known a person who keeps ruining their own life and then they ask you to feel sorry for them? Like, they expect you to feel sorry for them. They want to cry on your shoulder about this horrible life they have to live, which is a direct product of the decisions that they made. And yet, when you've given that person advice and tried to tell them about the decisions they're making, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear none of that. But they're bringing their problem to you when it's time to be bailed out. That's an immature person. That's a little boy. That's a little girl. That's not a grown man or a grown woman. Because maturity says that if you're gonna be the boss, then you must be willing to pay the cost. If you're going to absorb and retain the power and the freedom to make certain decisions, then you must also absorb the responsibility for the consequences from those choices. You need to take it like a man, take it like a woman. Stop bitching. You were the one who wanted to do that. We told you not to do it. Every time you picked up the fried chicken, we said don't eat it. So don't come to us crying because you got diabetes now and you about to get your foot cut off. I mean, I'm gonna feel bad for you. I'm gonna pray for you, and you might think Jesus did this to you or the devil did it, but no, the devil didn't really do it. It was really you. You picked up the fried chicken. I saw you do it. I watched you for about 800 consecutive Sundays, and that's kind of what you did every single time. So so I'm not making fun of you. I'm not dogging you. I'm not hating on you right now. And I'm with you. I want to cry with you and I'm going to pray with you. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this happened just out of pure chance. Yeah, you're broke right now. Yeah, you can't pay your rent and stuff like that. And I feel really bad for you that you're homeless. But I do remember that when you had money and I said to you that maybe you should save some of that you weren't really listening. Or that when I wanted to start a business and I said to you, hey, you got a little extra money. Why don't we go into business together? You didn't want to hear all of that because you wanted to have Gucci and Coach and you wanted to run to the club. So I let you do that because I'm not going to tell you what to do. But now you broke as fuck and you're asking me to bail you out. And I'm not going to do that for you because if I do that, I'm really enabling your self-destructive behavior. So I love you enough to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And also the same way you told me to get out of your face when I was giving you advice, I'm going to get out of your face now that you're asking me to save you. So anyway, now I'm not trying to be self-righteous here. I'm not trying to be holier than thou. I'm not trying to say that every choice I've made has been perfect. A lot of my choices have been really screwed up. The best thing I learned, though, over time is that, man, I'm really mad right now, and my life is not what I want it to be. And the best thing I learned was, wait a minute, Boyce is the person I need to be mad at. I'm not going to get mad at my mama, not get mad at my kids, not get mad at my friends, not get mad at anybody. I got to get mad at me because I become the victim and the perpetrator in this horror story called my own life. And if I want my life to be better, I need to learn how to make some better decisions. So, I'll tell you what, being a perpetual victim really get you nowhere. Feeling sorry for yourself gets you nowhere. Even if you are a victim. That's the thing. Even if I believe really this sounds crazy, but I really believe this is a good philosophy. Even if you are the victim, don't dwell on being the victim. Try not to use the word victim. Because when you use the word victim, you really are automatically defining yourself to be powerless. You might say, you know what? I went through some horrible stuff. The thing I experienced was absolutely atrocious. But I'm not a victim, because a victim is kind of a job description for some people. For some people, their job description is I'm just a victim all the time. And I just really think that's such a self-defeated way to think about anything. So Black people, you're not victims. You went through some stuff. Your ancestors overcame a lot. You've gone through, all kinds of hell, but you survived it because you're not victims. If you've been victims, you'd be dead. The fact that you are still alive and breathing and your mind is right and you have the future in front of you, I'm going to tell you what, you know what? The future ain't got to be filled with victims. We ain't got to be victims in the future. Now, let's see. Somebody says, can a white person get in your school? Actually, we have white people in the Black Business School. So, if you think that, celebrating Blackness is a racial thing, or we hate white people, that's not true. I just tell people that the reason it's called the Black Business School is because we serve the Black community. That's what we do. We're not here for any other community. Just like the Jews have Hebrew school, well, we got the Black Business School. That's our thing. We have 43,000 students, and we're growing every day. So I encourage you to check us out. If you want to know about some of the programs that we have, you can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Also go to drboycewatkins.net, and you get a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. That's drboycewatkins.net. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. Y'all hear me sort of fighting with my voice, and I don't want to keep talking and lose my voice. But I want to say happy holidays to everybody, and I love you. And I don't want anybody to feel bad. I don't want to make anybody feel like I'm attacking you or trying to make you feel bad about yourself. But I just want to encourage you, go out here and believe that you can do it. Understand that Black people, our spending power exceeds the gross domestic product of 80% of the countries on this earth. It exceeds the gross domestic product of a lot of countries, from Sweden to Iran to Venezuela to I think even Saudi Arabia was on the list. I mean, it's insane. It's insane in terms of how much money Black people have. Let me see. I'm going to look at countries ranked by GDP. Because I even when I say some of the countries, I don't believe myself. I literally was flabbergasted when I saw how much wealth Black people have compared to the rest of the world. The reason you think you're broke is because you're always comparing yourselves to white people. And white people have a lot of the money because the white man unfortunately spent a lot of his time stealing from other people. Yeah, so we have more spending power than the gross domestic product of Mexico, Indonesia, the Netherlands, Turkey, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Taiwan, Sweden, Belgium, Poland, Nigeria, Iran, Thailand, Austria, Norway, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Venezuela. And so if we can't build, then that means none of those countries are capable of building. None of those countries. So I want to encourage you to just believe me, or to at least hear me out. I mean, you ain't gotta believe me. I'm not. I don't. It's okay if you don't believe me. If you want to fight with me or whatever, that's fine too. Because it's okay to critically think about this. But I encourage you to consider the fact. This is what I fundamentally believe. Again, my PhD's in finance. That if we embrace financial literacy at the highest levels, if we as a community really commit to understanding money and how it works, and how wealth works, how cooperative economics works, how Black economic empowerment works, and I'll talk to you about this as much as you want, that if we do that and then we commit to discipline, meaning impulse control, meaning when you get that money, you might want to buy the Gucci purse, but maybe you can hold off and go buy some stock first, right? I know you want the Jordans. That's cool. Ain't no wrong with buying Jordans, but maybe you can also buy some Nike stock to go with your Jordans. If we have that impulse control mixed with extreme financial knowledge, then my argument is that instead of it taking 250 years for the wealth gap between whites and blacks to disappear, I believe that wealth gap would disappear in about 30 years or even less. and I'm not playing, because black people control billions in resources. The problem is that because you don't understand the economic game, you give it away. Imagine if you were playing basketball and you didn't understand the rules of basketball. The rule of basketball is when you get the ball, you defend it, right? You keep it. Football, same thing. When you pass the ball on the football field, you don't pass it to the other team. You pass it to your teammates, right? Well, imagine if somebody, let's use football. Football is a better example, because when you get the ball, you got to protect it, right? Because the other team's trying to get it. So you don't know the rules of football, and so you ask the opponent. That's what you're doing when you go ask white folks to explain to you how all this works. Then in a way you're kind of asking the opponent to explain to you how the football game is supposed to be played. So you ask your opponent, hey man, I don't know how to play football. My dad never taught me how to play. What do I do with this ball? And they say, oh, well, what you do is you snap it and you hand it to me. And then you let me run to the end zone. Well, wait, am I supposed to do that? Ain't I supposed to tackle you? Well, no, you ain't, no, just let me go. In fact, you're supposed to block for me, and I'll really appreciate it. And you say, well, no, man, I think I'm supposed to actually tackle you. And I think I'm supposed to defend my goal. And I think I'm supposed to score. I think I'm supposed to score points. I talked to this guy named Dr Boyce Watkins, and he said that everything y'all taught me in the school that I went to, where you sent me to football school, where I learned from you, he told me that a lot of what you told me was bullshit, and that instead of actually scoring points for you and giving you the ball and blocking for you, I'm actually supposed to score points for myself. I'm actually supposed to defend and compete in this game. And then maybe he comes back and says, well, if you do that, then that's going to really put a damper on our friendship. I'm gonna be kind of mad at you, man. Because tackling hurts. Like, why would you want to hit another person and hurt them? And then you say, well, wait, but you've been hitting me. One time I ran the ball and you knocked my head off. Right. Well, yeah, that was in the past. That was different. And so the point is that that's what they do to you. That's what, not why all white folks, I'm not saying that's what this white supremacist system and those who run it, that's what the Donald Trumps of the world and people like that are doing to you when they teach you how to play the economic game. They're telling you, like, no, you're not supposed to worry about building wealth. I mean, that's racist. Why would you run around telling black people to build wealth? That's wrong. But you're helping them to build wealth every day. They're selling you consumer products that are building their wealth every day, or loving yourself, scoring points for your own team. They would tell you, oh, that's racist. You shouldn't do that. But they're scoring points for their team every time you handle the ball. You're not protecting the ball. The ball is your dollar bills, right? So when they get the ball, they protect it. They run a patterned offensive scheme to get in the end zone as many times as possible. And when you get the ball, they tackle you. They stop you from moving even an inch. When you get the ball, you take the ball, you hand it over to them as a gift. You let them run in your end zone. They score points on you all day long, and you don't even understand what's really going on. You think you're on the same team when they understand that you are an opponent. So at the end of the day, the wealth game's the same way. The people that have convinced you that you're on their team, no, those are your opponents in disguise who've convinced you to keep handing them the ball. Stop handing them the damn ball. Defend the ball, get in the end zone, and play some damn defense so that you can actually win a game or two. You're down by 87 points. Stop doing this. Okay, I'm done talking. I'm about to go. It's nap time. I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. But I literally have to take a deep breath because some of this stuff just literally makes my head explode sometimes. I'm about to go. So again, if you want to join our stock market class, feel free. Go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Also, if you want the free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, please go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Jimmy says drop the mic. I ain't going to drop the mic, but I'm about to drop the pen. And then I'm going to drop my black ass in bed. You guys take care. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Oh, and don't forget one more thing. Don't forget the All Black National Convention goes down September 29th through October 1st in Louisville, Kentucky, the birthplace of the great Muhammad Ali. The Simmons College of Kentucky, President Kevin Cosby has been gracious enough to grant us his entire campus to literally blow it out. And they ain't scared to be black. They're not scared of black people. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. With this convention, we had some hotels and some venues turn us down. As soon as we told them it was called the All Black National Convention, suddenly the green light turned into a red light. And in fact, I'm not going to name names, but I'll say there was a black-owned Marriott hotel in D.C. That I was really impressed with, and I know they have black ownership. And I said, how great would it be for us to have our convention in this beautiful black hotel that's owned by black people? And I don't know who was making the decision, but as soon as we mentioned that we were the all-black national convention, they literally pretty much told us that they were booked up for the next 3 years. They literally acted like they didn't have a single space available anywhere. So we weren't always wanted everywhere. And that really broke my heart. But that really tells you that in this country, there is still a stigma attached to being black. There is still a labeling that people put on you when you're black. Even other black people will do that. You get some Negroes that get in mainstream and they're doing well, and they don't want to be associated with blackness. Well, my number one goal in life is to see to it that being black becomes the coolest thing in the world. That I'm not trying to go across the street to be next to you. You're gonna be trying to come across the street to be next to us. So that's really what all this is all about. I hope that you'll mark it on your calendar. Take some time to come to join us in Louisville, Kentucky. I guarantee it'll change your life. We're doing everything in our power to make it literally the most impactful, the most authentic, the most meaningful conference in the country for black people anywhere. So no corporate sponsorship. We don't let corporations sponsor because we don't want anybody to dilute the message. So that means that there's no conversation that's off balance, all out of bounds. There's no conversation that is deemed to be too politically incorrect. We're able to pretty much do what we want because we're in deliberation. So Simmons College is the perfect place to have it. Louisville, Kentucky, September 29th through October 1st is the perfect place to have it because that school was built by the hands of former slaves who said, we ain't got much, but we're going to build what we can build, and we're going to educate our own children, and then the next generation can figure out how to build on top of what we build. It's not about building the empire in the next 2 weeks. It's about planting the seed excuse me, so the next generation will have something to build on instead of them starting from scratch because you spent your whole life and didn't try to build nothing. That's what this is all about. I'm out of here, guys. Blackfinancialliteracy.com. Go check that out. That's where we update on everything that we're doing. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. I love you. Peace.